Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Moonbound Silence. Episode 2. Chapter 6-10. Go sit, and enjoy dearest, Ken, and I will be right there. I nodded and went to sit at a table. I took a bite of my ice cream and was in heaven. This had to be the most amazing thing that had ever touched my tongue. The strawberries added a slight sourness to it, which just made it that much better. After a few minutes, Jasper and Kendrick sat down too. What did you get? I asked them. Rocky Road, Kendrick said. Want to taste? I nodded and took a spoonful of his. I knew the ice cream was chocolate but couldn't tell what the other stuff was. What's this white puffy thing? It's called a marshmallow. I put it in my mouth and just smiled. It was sweet and soft and just melted in my mouth. The crunchy bits are almonds. I just nodded my head and enjoyed the flavor. I always thought marshmallows were big, I tell the guys. They come in different sizes and colors too, Kendrick replied. What do you have, Jasper? Birthday cake ice cream with pound cake, and sprinkles, he said and pushed it over. I took a bite, and it tasted just like a birthday cake. I was surprised I even remembered what a birthday cake tasted like. The taste alone brought tears to my eyes. Whoa, what's wrong? Kendrick asked. Sarin, what's the matter? Jasper asked, taking my hand in his. That's the closest thing I've had to a birthday cake in 8 years. Do you want to switch? Jasper asked. Hey? No, I love mine, yours just brought back memories. I'm okay, I say and take a spoonful of mine again. After we finished our ice cream, we decided to head back to the pack house. Even though half of this day was spent in the pack clinic, I had to admit that today was not a bad day at all. Jasper and Kendrick did everything for me and made sure I enjoyed myself. I felt silly having cried while eating ice cream, but I felt better once I got that insecurity off of my chest. Who knows, maybe now that I'm mated to Jasper, he will buy me a birthday cake next year. Chapter 6. Jasper's POV. While we were on our way back to the pack house, Sarin fell asleep against the window. I secretly wished that window was my shoulder. I wasn't going to push Sarin, she needed time to heal and to trust, and I promised that I would give her that. I was just happy she agreed to stay with me in my guest room. Tomorrow was our day last at Blood Moon, and the day I would end the contract with Ash. Our pack would officially be rivals. Although that meant we could go to war at any time, it also gave me an opening to KLL him if he or his pack ever laid a hand on Sarin ever again. The moon goddess was working in my favor, and I knew it. She gave Sarin a second chance, and it was with me. I refused to blow it. I would anything and everything for Sarin. All she had to do was ask. I loved her the moment I saw her, and it wasn't just because of the mate bond. Sarin doesn't know it, but seeing her last night was not the first time I met her. Flashback. Dad, why are we going to the Iron Hollow pack? I asked from the back seat of the car. I had just turned 18, and my dad wanted me to work out a business relationship with Alpha Gideon Calloway. Because son, you will be taking over in a few months, and I need you to build a solid relationship with Gideon. Plus, he's always been like an uncle to you growing up. Well, yeah, I get that, but... No buts, Jasper. This will be good for both of our packs. Ugh, fine, I waved a white flag in defeat. A few minutes later, we arrived at Iron Hollow. I never understood why it was called that until I actually saw the lake behind the pack house. The mountains surrounding this packed territory were grey, and the reflection of them across the lake make them look silver as it danced with the sunlight. When we got out of the car, I expected formal greetings, but instead, my father hugged Alpha Gideon in a brotherly hug. Mitch. Ronan, they smiled at each other. Mitch, you remember my son, and the soon-to-be Alpha of Blue Lake, Jasper. How could I forget? Welcome back to Iron Hollow, Jasper. Thanks, Uncle Mitch, it's good to see you again too. How are Aunt Megan and Ryan doing? They're good, they're both excited to see you, he said with a big smile. Come on inside, lunch is just about ready. We all walked in, and as soon as we did, I heard a little girl giggling and screaming her head off. Normally such a sound would bother the crap out of me, but this was one cute, and almost lovely. Ah, there's my sweet little Ryan, my dad, as she came running over to us. I don't like the name, Ryan. It's a boy's name, she pouted as my dad picked her up. She was small and cute. Oh, then what do you want to be called? Princess? Dove. Mommy calls me Sarin. But Sarin is a boy's name too, I tell her and pinch her cheek. Wow, who are you? You look like Prince Charming, I couldn't help but smile. Kids, so innocent. Sarin, this is my son, you probably don't remember him, but his name is Jasper. Can I keep him? She asked. My dad laughed and I just smiled at her. I hated kids, but Sarin was cute, and I felt drawn to her. Sarin, honey, leave Uncle Ronan and Jasper alone and come help Mommy and Nana with the table. Yes, Mommy, she squealed and jumped out of the dad's arms. Why isn't she annoying like Mel? I asked my dad. Because Melody is your baby sister and is already a teenager, my dad said. How old is Sarin? She just turned 10. Dad, something doesn't feel right when I look at her. What do you mean, son? Dad, I'm attracted to her. I know that sounds really bad given that I'm already 18, and she's just a baby, but I can't help it. What's wrong with me? Son, it's different because we are werewolves, and especially since you are an alpha. Care to elaborate? Jasper, I was hoping this would happen, and I'm glad that it did. That's another reason why I brought you here. I just looked at my dad. He wanted me to become a pedophile? Son, Mitch and I both believe that you and Sarin are destined mates. What? I whispered in a shout. When Sarin was born, and you were only around 8 years old, we came to visit them while they were in the hospital. You were immediately drawn to Sarin as an infant. You played with her non-stop, and you were upset when we had to leave after a few days. Your mother believed that you felt the mate bond. Is that possible? For an alpha it is. So, you're saying I find her cute and adorable because she's eventually going to be my mate? That's exactly what I am saying. Great, I have to wait 8 years for her to love me back. In the way you want her to, yes, but if you didn't notice, Sarin is attracted to you as well. Even though she is just a child, Sarin is also an alpha by blood because of Mitch and Meg. Aunt Megan is an alpha. She is, which makes Sarin twice as powerful. I looked back towards the kitchen where my tiny future mate was probably playing and helping set up the table. Sarin is too young to know it just yet, but her calling you Prince Charming is because her alpha aura has picked up on yours, and her little dormant wolf is already feeling the bond as well. Dad, this is too much. You're telling me being in love with a 10-year-old is okay? In our kind, it is, as long you respect the fact that she is a 10-year-old, he laughed and put his arm around my shoulder. I just shook my head. Jasper, my father came running into my office. "What is it, Dad? Quick, turn on the news." I grabbed the remote on the corner of my desk and turned on the TV in my office. Reports are still coming in as word is spreading like wildfire. The fall of the Iron Hollow Pack. I stood up from my desk and walked closer to the TV. Rumors are saying that the Blood Moon Pack is responsible for the slaughter. After challenging Alpha Gideon Calloway, and winning, Alpha Eric Patterson executed the entire pack. There are no survivors. "Sarin," I whispered. I fell to my knees. My future mate and her family were gone. End flashback. I wanted so badly to challenge Alpha Eric back then, but because of the contract my father had entered into with Alpha Eric at the time, I couldn't. All this time, 8 years, I thought Sarin was dead. I always wondered why the moon goddess never gave me a mate all this time. It was because my first mate was still alive, just being held captive. I couldn't wait to tell my family, they were going to be so thrilled. "Hey, we're back," Kendrick said as he pulled up to the Blood Moon Pack house. "Are you going to wake her?" "No. She's probably in a food coma and she's still healing from the damage done to her body the last 24 hours. "Has it really only been a day?" he asked, and I nodded my head. This had to have been the longest 24 hours of my life. I got out of the car and went around to the other side. I opened the door and picked up Sarin in my arms. She was out cold. I stopped mid-track when she whimpered a little and snuggled her face into my C.Hest and grasped my shirt. I smiled, and then kept walking. When we walked into the pack house, it smelled like something had died. "What is that smell?" Kendrick asked. Just then, we heard a loud bang come from the kitchen. It sounded like something had exploded. Sarin stirred a bit in my arms, but she stayed asleep. "Ken, take her to my room and stay with her." I passed her over to him and he went upstairs. I ran to the kitchen to see a fire on the stove and inside the microwave. Everyone was backed away not knowing what to do. I grabbed the fire extinguisher and put out the flames. Once that was said and done, I looked back at Nicole, Emma, and a few Omegas. "What?" was all I could say. I opened the microwave and found remnants of aluminum foil. Sarin was right, this house was in shambles. I couldn't even say anything, I just put the fire extinguisher down and walked away. As I was leaving the kitchen, Eric was running towards it. "What was the loud bang?" Eric asked. "Your wife and daughter put aluminum foil in the microwave," I tell him. His face was filled with anger and embarrassment. "Where is Sarin?" he asked. "Asleep in our room," I enunciated the word R. "Why isn't she making dinner for the pack?" "Perhaps you weren't here earlier when I announced her as my Luna, and that she is no longer required to do anything for you," I tell him as my eyes turn black. "After tomorrow's meeting, Sarin is coming with me," I said and got into his face. "Once we return home, I will officially make her my Luna, and I will find a way to make you pay for your crimes, Eric. You will not get away with treating her the way you did all these years, mark my words." I pushed past him as he growls behind me. I made my way up the stairs and down the hall to my room. I found Kendrick standing watch at the door. He was a great beta. Poor guy hadn't gotten laid once since we've been here. It's probably the longest he's gone without having chick jumping his bones. "I'm surprised your testosterone build-up hasn't made you collapse yet," I say as I walk up to him. "I'm dying here, man. I need to get laid or at least go jerk off somewhere." I just shook my head. "Don't be so judgmental, not all of us are golden boys like you." "Golden boy? You know I've had my fair share of women." "Yeah, only when you actually dated someone, and even then, that never lasted long. I dated because I was lonely, and you know that. But I also had the occasional one-night stand. I'm sure you get how frustrating it can be to not have a mate at 26. Not yet, because I'm only 24, but still, you're right. Stop sleeping around, Ken. You're going to end up getting the wrong she-wolf pregnant, or end up with an STD if you sleep with the wrong human. I always wrap it, man, I'm not stupid. You and I both know that condoms aren't 100%, look at your brother. My brother was an IT who got a girl pregnant because she lied about being on the pill, and now he's stuck with her. What's going to happen when Keaton finds his mate? My dad said that he will have to reject her, and be stuck with Tareen. How is he holding up? He's miserable, man, he doesn't love her, and he wishes he could turn back the clock. He just rubbed my neck. I can't even imagine being 19 and being tied to a woman that's not your mate. Well, if you doesn't start being more careful, you're going to know what it's like really soon. Yeah, he said and walked off. I shook my head and went into my room. Sarin was still fast asleep and hugging one of the pillows. I could only imagine how comfortable she must feel being on a real bed after 8 years on a cot. I went into the bathroom to take a shower. When I was done, I put on some sweats and went to sleep next to Sarin. I snuggled close to her and spooned her from behind. I kissed her cheeks lightly and went to sleep. Sarin's POV. I tried to move around in my sleep, but I felt a sudden restraint and an amazing warmth. I opened my eyes and was met with a bare C.Hest. I froze and blinked several times trying to figure out why I was snuggled up next to a man. Then I caught the scent of fresh rain. It was Jasper. I gently lifted my head and was met with his beautiful face. I blinked several times again. My goddess, he looked like Prince Charming. Wait, Prince Charming? Something about Jasper seemed oddly familiar to me, but I couldn't place it. It wasn't just the mate pull I was feeling, it was something else. Almost as if I knew him, before all of this. But that couldn't be possible, I would remember meeting something this handsome. Handsome? Forget that, he was drop-dead gorgeous. I felt him move a little and pull me in closer, and I felt even warmer than before. His scent made me dizzy, but in a good way. I felt like I was in a daze with how close we were to each other. As much as I wanted to stay like this, I had the sudden urge to pee. I tried to gently get out of his grasp, but he kept pulling me closer. I really needed to pee. I didn't want to wake him though. I tried to push away again, but to no avail. Jasper, I said softly, but he didn't respond. Jasper, I said a little louder, but still nothing. I decided to push a little harder, but then he pulled me in full force. Why do you keep pushing me away, dearest? I'm trying to sleep peacefully. I need to use the restroom, he grunted and took a deep breath. He finally let me go, and I jumped out of the bed and ran into the bathroom before my kidneys burst. Once was I finished with my business, I brushed my teeth and washed my face. I decided that I needed a shower, but I realized that I didn't know how to use the shower in the bathroom. I stared at it blankly and bit my lip. Sarin, are you okay? Jasper asked. I winced in embarrassment, but I really wanted to take a hot shower for once in my life. I opened the door and saw him looking at me concerned. Can you help me with something? What's wrong? I want to take a shower. Why do you need help with taking a shower? I don't know how to turn it on, I said softly and scrunched my face. He didn't say anything and just looked at me. I've never taken a shower. What? I could hear the anger in his voice. Sarin, if you've never taken a shower, how did you clean yourself? The pond, out back. What? He roared, and I cowered to the floor. I hadn't heard an alpha roar that loud before. As if sensing my fear, Jasper took a deep breath and calmed himself. He bent down and helped me back to my feet. Without saying another word, he led me to the shower and turned it on for me. I saw him test the water temperature before walking out of the bathroom and closing the door behind him. I waited another minute and finally rest. I didn't want Jasper to see the bruising that I know hadn't healed yet. I opened the door to the shower and stepped in. For the time in 8 years, hot water covered my body, and I let out a M0AN without even realizing it. It felt so wonderful. It felt so invigorating. But it also felt like it was burning my skin because of the bruises. I pushed past the pain, and gently massaged my skin. The pain eventually subsided, and I finally decided to wash my hair with actual shampoo. I reached down and looked at the bottles and found it. I wasn't sure how much I needed, so I started with a small quarter-size amount, and when I felt that wasn't enough, I added a little more, and a little more until my hair was nice and lathered. It smelled so nice. I smelled sweet and refreshing at the same time. I ran my fingers all the way into my scalp and cleaned my hair thoroughly. For the first time in a long time, my hair actually felt clean. When I felt that it was enough, I washed it all out and moved on to the body wash. I looked at the bottle, and it was a man's body wash. I felt a little strange using Jasper's body wash, so I just used the bar of soap that was in the shower. I gently massaged my skin again and made sure to get into all areas of my body that I never got to wash in detail. I never felt so alive. How did Jasper hold me all night when I was this dirty? I washed my face one more time with the soap and got rinsed off. I didn't even realize how long I was in the shower trying to cleanse myself until the water started to turn cold. I looked at the nozzle for a bit and figured out how to turn off the water. I grabbed the towel and dried myself off. I dried off my hair the best I could. I turned around to grab my clothes when I realized I didn't have any clean clothes to change into. It was all out in the room. I winced in defeat knowing that I had to go out in a towel, in front of Jasper. I looked in the mirror, and my shoulders and my C.Hest still had a lot bruising on them. I waited a minute trying to decide if I should just put on the dirty clothes, or if I should just face him. I felt so clean, that I didn't want to put on dirty clothes from yesterday. I hung my head and pouted. I went to the door, and cracked it open. Jasper. Yeah, he was still in there. Do you think you can give me some clean clothes and undergarments? I kind of forgot to bring in them with me. Sure. I waited a minute and I saw him pop up through the crack of the door. He handed me a shirt, leggings, and underwear. I squeezed it through the door, so he didn't see me and closed it again. I quickly got changed, and then went back out. Jasper was sitting in bed playing on his phone. You can use the bathroom now. He looked up for his phone and smiled at me. He put it down and walked towards me. I stood there frozen. Your hair is still wet, he said playing with it. Come on, let's dry it off. He led me back into the bathroom and pulled out the hairdryer that was in there. He turned it on and started to dry off my hair for me. I just stood there while he did his thing. It felt nice, but it also felt weird. When he was done, he fluffed my hair a little bit and then kissed my cheek. What was that for? I asked, holding my cheek. I felt like it. He smiled at me through the mirror. His teal eyes just glistened in the light of the bathroom. Come on, let's go out and get some breakfast before my meeting with Ash. I can just make us something. Not in a burnt-down kitchen, you can't. What? What happened to the kitchen? I asked, turning around. Well, Emma and Nicole kind of set it on fire last night when we came back from dinner. How? They put aluminum foil in the microwave. Oh my God, I said and covered my face. Emma and her mom really were that stupid. I don't even have an education, and even I know not to put anything metal in the microwave. How was Emma even surviving on her own outside of the pack house? Jasper quickly brushed his teeth, changed into some clean clothes, and then led me out of the room. As we were descending down the stairs, Kendrick was coming up. Oh, perfect timing, he said. Why are you in such a hurry? Jasper asked. I was coming up to get you for the meeting. What? The meeting isn't until noon. Well, Kale and Eric want it now. Jasper grunted. I'm sorry, love, but we have to postpone breakfast. That's okay, I'm still full from last night. Kendrick and I need to go to this meeting, so I want you to go back to the room and wait for me. Do not let anyone come in, I don't trust anyone this house right now. Okay, he ssc'd my cheek again, making me freeze, and then walked away with Kendrick. I stared into blank space for a minute before I shook my head and went back to the room. Jasper's POV. Kendrick and I made our way down to the conference room with all of the other alphas and betas. The door was still ajar, and we entered the room. Ah, Alpha Jasper, how kind of you to finally join us, Eric said. There better be a good reason for you moving up the meeting, I sneered at him. Well, I'm sure you would like to get back home, and so does everyone else, so why not? He had a point. I didn't want to have to stay here any longer than I had to. Alpha Jasper, where is the Luna? Alpha Richard of the Golden Moon Pack asked me. She's resting in our room, her body is still healing from the events of the last couple of days. After I said this, I heard a growl come from Ash. I just smirked. Shall we get started? Alpha Xavier of the Midnight Moon Pack asked. Kendrick and I took our seat and the meeting got underway. This was going to be a long few hours. Chapter 7. Jasper's POV. After 2 hours, in this meeting of whether or not packs were going to renew their peace contracts or not, it was currently half and half in the room. Half the packs wanted to keep it neutral, while the other half wanted nothing to do with the Blood Moon Pack. Alpha Jasper? What say you? Elder Scott asked. Nay, I respond in one word. The room fell quiet and dark. Even though 6 other packs rescinded their contracts, losing me would be a huge blow to the Blood Moon Pack, and they knew it. I refuse to be neutral, let alone become allies with a pack as cruel and demented as this one, I explain. Does this have to do with your mate? Elder Scott asked. Part of it does, yes, but personally, I've wanted out of this treaty with Blood Moon since I took over as Alpha. I would never associate myself or my pack with a pack of murders and bussers. Everyone gasped at my words, and Eric's eyes turned black. Alpha Jasper, everyone in this room knows that what happened to the Iron Hollow pack was done legally, Alpha Richard said. As heinous as it was still legal. I'm not questioning the legality of it, Alpha Richard, I snarled. Legal or not, Eric didn't have to kill the entire pack. He could have released them and let them live as loners, or as non-violent rogues so they could at least have a life, but no, he didn't, he slaughtered them all. I looked at back Eric, who was seething in anger, and Ash was just sitting there not saying anything. He was such a weak alpha. And not only did he do that, but he kidnapped the alpha's daughter and forced her into slavery at the age of 10, made her cook, clean, bust her, starved her, made her sleep in a shoe closet under the stairs, and made her clean herself in the pond out back behind this sorry excuse of a pack house. Alpha's daughter? Alpha Xavier asked. The entire table started to mumble in confusion. Oh, did he not mention this to you all? Sarin, my mate, she is the lost daughter of Alpha Gideon Calloway. The room burst into gasps of horror and surprise. Eric is true? Richard asked. I don't know what's talking about. Sarin was born here, her parents died in a rogue attack, Eric stuttered. And Sarin is not your mate? Kale shouted, standing to his feet. She is my mate. I have already claimed her. You can't claim something that has been rejected, I tell him. His eyes turned black and so did mine. He was never going to give her up. He only wanted her for her alpha blood. You're just like your father Ash. You only care about money and power. You rejected Sarin because you thought she was an orphaned Omega, but then you found out she was an Alpha's daughter, and now you're trying to stake your claim. I stood to my feet and walked towards him. He was a lot shorter than me, so I towered over him. Sarin has already accepted the rejection, and she has accepted me as her mate. Your impotent attempts to claim her are just a waste of time and energy. I see no reason for Jasper to lie about these claims, Xavier said. I too believe he is telling the truth, Richard stated. Elder Scott, I would like to retract my vote on remaining neutral with Blood Moon, Alpha Ramsey of the Black Moon Pack stated. As would I, Alpha Maximus of the Crescent Moon Pack announced. Gentlemen, please be reasonable, Elder Scott pleaded. Out of the dozen pack leaders, 8 have now entered a rivalry with Blood Moon, which meant, they could easily challenge Kale for his TLE if they ever wanted to. Elder Scott, Richard stood to his feet. I suggest you decide on when you plan on retiring. I beg your pardon. When I return home, I will call a meeting with the other elders and see what will be done about you having turned a blind eye to such heinous crimes. If this meeting is adjourned, I will take my leave first, I tell the room. Let's go, Kendrick. We both leave the conference room and head towards the stairs. Pack your things and get the car ready. I want to be out of here in 15 minutes. You got it, Kendrick ran up the stairs first. I took a deep breath and went up myself. When I got the 4th floor, I could hear a group of girls snickering and some shouting along with it. I peeked around and saw a group of girls right outside my guest room. Come on Ryan, we know you're in there, shouted an all too familiar high-pitched voice as she banged on the door. Open the door. Go away Emma. I heard Sarin shout. You. Open the door before I break it down. You know you're not allowed up here. FK off mouse. Sarin shouted. Break it down. Emma shouted. 3 of the other girls kicked the door but it didn't budge. They kicked it again, but nothing. I said break it down. We're trying. Get away from there. I shouted at them and growled. The girls gasped and immediately bowed their heads, but not Emma. Jasper, Emma said. That's Alpha Jasper to you. I growled. I grabbed her by the throat and lifted her in the air. I warned you to stay away from Sarin, but you didn't listen, and now you're going to reap the consequences. My eyes turned black and my canines protruded out. Sarin, my love, I will be right back, I said to the door knowing she could hear me. I dragged Emma back down to the conference room where I figured everyone still remained. I kicked open the door. Alpha Jasper, what is the meaning of this? Richard asked. What? He paused when he saw that I had Emma by the throat. Alpha Jasper, what is the meaning of this? Richard asked. What? He paused when he saw that I had Emma by the throat. Unhand my daughter! Eric shouted. Your daughter needs to be taught a lesson, Eric. I've warned her multiple times and so has my beta, yet she still seems to think it is okay to harass my mate, I growl. At this point, it's not even me who is speaking, it's Blade. Perhaps Sarin deserves it, Eric says. Big mistake. I didn't realize that staying in her room silently resting was a crime. Eric couldn't say anything. Dad! Help me! Emma shrieked, and Blade dug his claws into her neck. She screamed out in pain. Eric tried to step forward, but Xavier stopped him. You are no longer Alpha, Eric. It is Ash's duty to protect his pack, not yours, he tells him. Ash, don't just stand there. Do something! Emma shouted. Yes, Ash, try and do something. Or are you too much of a coward to help your sister? You're man enough to hit and beat Sarin, but you're not man enough to come to your sister's aid, Blade tells him. Unhand my sister, she has done nothing wrong, Kale says with no confidence. She has done plenty wrong, you and your father are just too weak and pathetic to admit it. You're the reasons why she's a slut and self-entitled little asterisk. Blade picks her up again by the throat and sinks his claws deeper. She screams out more. Emma Patterson, this is your final warning. Stay away from Sarin. If you even look at her again, I will rip your heart out. Emma is crying at this point, but I have no remorse for her. I normally would never hurt a woman, but Emma pushed my final buttons. Without waiting for a response, Blade threw her across the room where she landed right in front of her father. She coughed for air, and her neck was bleeding from the claw marks in her neck. Without looking back, I ran upstairs to make sure the other she-wolves didn't keep trying to with Sarin. Luckily, they weren't there when I arrived. I opened the door with the key and let myself in. Dearest, are you okay? I asked Sarin, who was sitting in the corner hugging her knees. I'm fine. Let's pack up and leave. You've been in this hellhole long enough, she nodded her head. I quickly packed up my things and had her put her stuff into my bag. I take her hand and leave the room. Before we could make it to stairs, Kale was in front of us and standing in our way. Sarin, please don't go, he said. I quickly wrapped my arm around Sarin's waist and brought her close to me. Sarin, please, I'm not after you for your alpha blood, I made a mistake. Was this kid serious right now? What are you trying to tell me? Sarin asked. Sarin, I love you, Kale said. I always found you attractive, even when we were kids. I wanted to be your friend, but my father wouldn't let me. Is that supposed to excuse how you and your family treated me all these years? How your father is the reason why my family is dead? Why I had to live a life of slavery? Sarin pushed me away. Look what your family and your pack did to me. She lifted her shirt overhead, completely taking it off. That's when I saw it, bruises, and scars all over her. I cringed at the sight before me. Kale couldn't even lift his head to look at the damage on her body. Look at my body, Ash. He still didn't look up. She scoffed and rolled her eyes. Always so proud and so strong when you physically hit me, dragged me down the stairs, burned me with boiling water, or threw glass objects at me, but you can't even look at your own work. Sarin, dearest, please put your shirt back on. I hated seeing her shirtless with nothing. Mostly because of jealousy, she was showing herself to Ash, but also because Blade was about 5 seconds from taking over and making love to her on the stairs. You have some nerve telling me you love me, when all these years all you and your family did was torment me, beat me, stave me, treat me like dirt, and forced me to bathe in the pond out back," she said, putting her shirt back on. "You, Ash. You don't even know what the word love means." Without even waiting for me, she shoved her shoulder against his, knocking him out of the way. I smirked to see him so defeated, and seeing Sarin stand up for herself like that made my DCK hard in my jeans. I caught up to Sarin at the top of the stairs, and if I wasn't clear before, let me be clear now. She turned around to face him. "I hate you, Kale Patterson." She went down the stairs. I took a deep breath and turned around to face Ash. "Let's get one thing straight, Ash. Sarin was never yours. You were never meant to have her. I might be her second chance, but Sarin was mine long before ever stepping foot into this house." He looked at me and glared. I smirked again and went downstairs to meet up with Sarin. When I got downstairs, Sarin was waiting at the front door with Kendrick. Just as we were about to walk out, we heard loud roar and cry from upstairs. It was so loud it shook the entire house. "Oh my God, that's Ash!" Nicole shouted, coming from the kitchen. Eric soon emerged from the conference room. They both ran up the stairs, and we made our leave. Ash's POV. "I hate you, Kale Patterson." Sarin screamed at me before walking away. My heart shattered. I had just admitted my true feelings, and to her, it wasn't enough. All she saw was that my family and I were monsters. Seeing her body covered in bruises and scars made me hurt all over. "Let's get one thing straight, Ash. Sarin was never yours. You were never meant to have her. I might be her second chance, but Sarin was mine long before ever stepping foot into this house," Jasper said to me. I looked at him confused. But without saying anything else, he walked away as well. I fell to my knees and held my C.Hest. I could feel every fiber of my soul being torn out of me. The woman I loved hated me, and it was my own fault. Was this the karma people always talked about? What goes around comes around, that saying that everyone taught to you at an early age. I didn't think it would be possible to feel this much pain, but I did, and I couldn't make it stop. I did the only thing I could do. "Ah!" I roared and cried. I cried for the first time in my life since I was a child. My roar shook the entire pack house, and I knew that everyone heard it. The cry from an alpha can be felt and heard by all its pack members. "Ash! What's the matter?" I heard my mother's voice. I just sat on my knees and I cried. I wallowed like some little schoolgirl. "Talk to me, sweetheart. Get away from me." I snarled at her. This was all her fault. This was all of their faults. I never wanted to be cruel to Sarin, they made me. "Son! Do not speak to your mother that way," my dad snapped back. "Or what?" I snarled at him. "Are you going to threaten to kill me again like you did when I was 10? Who does that? Who threatens their child?" "What is he talking about, Eric?" my mother asked. "Yes, father. Tell mother what I'm talking about." I turned to face her. When he first brought Sarin home, I wanted to be her friend. But father threatened to kill me if I even so much as even said hello to her. "Eric, you threatened our son. He was the future alpha. I needed him to be strong and ruthless like me. He didn't have time to make friends. Well, had I been her friend, then Sarin would love me back." "Ash, what are you talking about? What do you mean love you back?" "It's nothing, Nicole, my father lied to her." "Look at you, lying to your own wife," I sneered at him. "Sarin was my mate. But I rejected her because I thought she was a rogue. When in actuality, she's an alpha's daughter. She's the heir to the Iron Hollow Pack mother. My mother stood frozen in her SP0T. And I'm hopelessly madly in love with her, but she hates me. Because of the two of you and Emma. I roared in their face. Ash, sweetheart, please, you're not making any sense. Then shut up and listen for once in your life, mother, she gasped at my outburst. Ash. Don't talk to mom that way. Emma shouted, coming up the stairs. You too, Emma. I roared at her. You're just as much to blame as they are. She stopped dead in her tracks. Had you backed off like Jasper said, then maybe I would have had a chance to win Sarin back. But no. I roared again, making her whimper. You had to be the stupid narcissistic bee, tch you have always been and ed up everything. Ash, please, calm down. For sake, do you not know what shut up means, mother? Ash, you need to take a step back. You may be the alpha, but we are still your parents, and I will not hesitate to put you in your place, my father threatened. Lay even one finger on me, and I will banish all of you. Sweetheart, you will get a second chance. You're an alpha, you can't run a pack without a Luna, the moon goddess will. I don't want a second chance. I want Sarin. I pushed past them and stormed off. I ran out the front door, and as soon as my feet hit the cement, Kano ripped through the surface. You only have yourself to blame, Ash. I told you not to reject her. Well, I never would have, had my family not forced me to treat her like SHT. No one forced you. I even gave you an out, but you didn't listen. You heard her, Kano. She would have rejected us anyway. But I wouldn't have let you accept it, it would have left an opening for us, but no, you had to choose your pride over love. I snubbed him into the back of my mind, and we just went for a run to clear our head. I needed to figure out a way to win Sarin back. Elder Scott said she accepts Jasper, I'm screwed. She hasn't once she said she accepted him, only he said it. Maybe there was still a chance. Chapter 8. Sarin's POV. The drive to Jasper's pack would take about 4 or 5 hours, and I just stared out the window silent majority of the way. I wasn't sure what I was going to do when I got there. I knew that Jasper was my second chance mate, and he was already showing me how much he cared by all the things he was doing for me that no one had ever done. But I couldn't help but wonder if this was all too real. That it was all too good to be true. I had the nagging feeling that his pack wouldn't accept me as their Luna. I mean, I am after all technically a rogue wolf. I had no pack, no parents, no family. Regardless if I am an alpha's daughter, I was nothing. If Jasper's pack didn't accept me, there was nothing stopping Jasper from rejecting me. I'm honestly half expecting it, but I mean, honestly, why on earth would the moon goddess bother pairing a worthless orphan like me with an alpha like Jasper? I should just reject Jasper myself and just live alone. I'd have a better chance of just living off the grid as a human. Stop thinking like that. Like what, Kale? The truth. The inevitable. Why do you automatically assume Jasper is going to reject us? Look at him, he's perfect. I'm a nobody. So, you're calling me a nobody? No, of course not. You're the other half of me. You're the only somebody in my life that matters. You're right, I am your other half. We may be two different souls, but we are one body and one mind, Sarin. If you say you are a nobody, then I am also a nobody to you. That's not fair, Kale. Isn't it? I understand why you are hesitant about Jasper's love, but don't be. It is sincere, it is wholehearted, and it is true. Jasper loves us, for us. I snubbed Callie to the back of my mind after that. Could Jasper really love me, for me? Sarin. Yet. I replied, just looking out the window. Are you all right? I don't know. Dearest, will you look at me, please? I closed my eyes and took a deep breath and looked over at Jasper. God, he was so good looking. Talk to me, what was I supposed to say? That was I falling for him already, after only 2 days of knowing him, but am so afraid of rejection that I don't want to give in to my feelings. What do you want me to say? The truth, his eyes were pleading, but I just couldn't. I just shook my head and turned back to the window. Baby. I said I would give you a chance, so, I ask that you give me time in return, was all I said before he let out a heavy sigh himself. Okay, I will give you all the time you need. Just know that I will always be here. His voice sounded so broken, and all I wanted to do is just lean on him and tell him that I do care and that I want this to work, but I'm just not ready to do that yet. As I was admiring the amazing scenery outside the car window, we came to a sudden halt. I looked up and saw that we were at a gate, a fairly large gate at that. Kendrick rolled down the window, and a man walked towards him. Alpha. Beta, welcome home, he bowed his head. Open the gates. I watched as the gates opened, and we drove in. I figured we would be going into a neighborhood of some sort, but instead, we were going deeper and deeper into the mountains. I was confused, where was this pack actually located? I sat up a little bit and looked out the front as Kendrick kept driving. Then, out of the blue, we entered a small town. All of the houses were beautiful and were mostly built with logs and wood. As cleared the village, we around another mountain. Sarin, welcome to the Blue Lake Pack, Jasper said. I looked ahead and saw a massive blue lake. It stretched across so far, I couldn't even see the other side of it. It was in the middle of the mountain terrain, and it was absolutely beautiful. It made the lake at Iron Hollow Pack look small, and that's not easy to do. As we went around the lake, we were met with a cut in the lake that showed another small town, and at the end of that town was a castle. I shouted when I saw it come into view. Yes, dearest, we live in a castle, Jasper tells me. Sarin, our pack is one of the biggest in the central United States, Kendrick said from the driver's seat. How many? I asked. Over 800, Jasper replied. I looked over at him in complete shock. How many rooms are in the castle? About 60 or 65. Only ranked members and their families live in the castle. Alpha and Luna have entire 5th floor to themselves. I have the 4th floor. Jason, our Gamma, and his mate Milan, whom you will meet when we pull up, is on the 3rd. Our parents and siblings live on the 2nd, and the 1st floor is the conference rooms, pack hospital, recreation center, event hall, dining room, library, and kitchen, Kendrick replied. Wow, that's crazy. It makes Blood Moon sound so small, I reply. And guess what? Jasper said. I looked at him. It's all yours, oh my god, he was right. If I accepted my duty as Luna, this would all be mine. I would be the Luna to the largest pack on this side of the country. That was actually a very scary thought. I can't, I started to panic. Hey, calm down baby, just breathe, he said while trying to contain his laughter. Jasper, I'm only 18, how am I supposed to run a pack of over 800? I asked with a panicked tone. 1. You wouldn't be running it, you would help me run it, along with Ken, Jason, and Milan. 2. Your age is of no relevance. You're an alpha by nature, that's why you never took SHT from anyone all these years, your genealogy would not allow it, and 3, even if you weren't an alpha, you can do anything you set your mind to, he said and sscd my cheek again. What is with him and sing my cheek? I wouldn't deny that I enjoy it, and it makes my body heat up from the inside out, but I wasn't going to admit that to him. All right, we're here, Kendrick said and pulled up to the front of the castle. It was even bigger than I had thought. This place was massive, and I was in complete awe as we stepped out of the car. Jasper. Ken. Welcome home, another really good-looking guy with blonde hair and green eyes said. What's up, Jason? Glad to see you didn't burn down our home while we were gone, Kendrick said. So, this was the Gamma. Jason, where is Milan? Jasper asked. She's going to get your parents, they should be right out. We stood there for a minute or so, then a really pretty girl just a few years older than me came to Jason's side, followed by an older couple, but not that much older. The man was just smidge shorter than Jasper but had the same teal-colored eyes and cheekbones. This had to be Jasper's dad. Why did he look so familiar to me? The woman was also very lovely as well. She looked to be in her late 40s, possibly 50s, but she had a very good complexion at the same time. She was a brunette with some grays, but not a lot, and she had hazel eyes. Son, glad to see you made it back in one piece, the man said. Son, glad to see you made it back in one piece, the man said. Jasper, baby, welcome home, the woman said and sscd his cheek. I just stood behind Jasper not knowing what to do. Mom, Dad, Jason, Milan, there's someone I want to introduce you to, he gently grabbed my hand, and pulled me forward. Good gracious, who is this? His mother asked. Son, did you? His dad questioned. I did. I found my mate while at Blood Moon. She's very lovely, his mother said, and I smiled. I love her hair, it's so healthy, Milan said. Son, are you going to tell us her name? His father asked. Jasper nudged me. I looked up at him and he just winked. Hello, it's very nice to meet all of you, my name is Sarin, all of a sudden his parents gasped. Did you say Sarin? His father asked. I nodded. Was there something wrong with my name? Son, is this? Yes, Dad, this is the same, Sarin. She survived the attack all those years ago. Oh, my heavens, Megan's baby, his mother said and started to cry. She knew my mother's name. Well, I guess it would make sense since Jasper said his dad and my dad were friends. Jasper, you said you found he at Blood Moon, his father asked, and Jasper nodded. How did she end up there? Father, you and I need to speak in private, he nodded. Well dear, my name is Grace, his mother introduced herself. My name is Ronan, his father said. I CD my head at the name. It sounded familiar. I'm Jason, I'm the Gamma, and this here, is my mate, Milan. It's such a pleasure to meet you, Sarin. I hope you and I can be friends, she said and gave me a h.ug. Thank you, it's nice to meet you all, I replied. Milan, will you show Sarin around the castle, and take your time? Of course, Alpha. Please come with me, Sarin. I looked up at Jasper and he gave me a nod of assurance. I took Milan's hand, and she took me inside. Jasper's POV. After I watched Sarin go inside the palace, I let out a small smile. She was finally where she belonged. Son, tell me how this is possible, how is she alive? And what the hell was she doing at Blood Moon? My father asked. Not here, too many ears. Let's go to my office. I ushered all of them inside, and we went to my office on the 5th floor. Once we were all situated and the door was locked, my father once again asked the same question. Son, please explain, because I need to know what happened. Dad, Mom, Sarin survived the attack because Uncle Mitch and Aunt Meg had hidden her away during the attack. She said that Eric found her when they were clearing the house. Oh, my goodness, that poor child, my mom started to get teary-eyed again. Eric thought she was a surviving Omega pup and took her in, however, instead of taking care of her, they turned into a child slave. They did what? My parents and Jason shouted. She cooked, cleaned, had been sleeping in a shoe closet under the stairs on a cot, she was beaten, mistreated, bussed, starved and even had to bathe in the pond behind the pack house, I explained to them. I look at my dad and his face is red with anger, and my mother's eyes have gone dark. Aunt Megan was one of her best friends and is actually Sarin's godmother. The night of Ash's Alpha ceremony, we witnessed her getting beaten by Luna Nicole and their daughter Emma, Kendrick added. We also found out that her birthday just passed, Sarin just gained her wolf a few days ago. What? My mother gasped. What's even crazier is that Eric's son, Ash, was Sarin's first mate, I tell them. Jasper, if that's the case, then how is she here with you? Jason asked. Ash rejected her the morning of her 18th birthday, and Sarin accepted, I tell him. His family had the nerve to keep harassing the Luna even when the Alpha and I had told them to back off, Kendrick said. Both of my parents were on the verge of imploding. Ash even had the nerve to try and reclaim her before we left, claiming he loved her, I conclude. What did Sarin say? My mother asked. Obviously, she called him on his bullsh. He only wants her for alpha blood, which they had no idea who she really was until she accepted Ash's rejection. After that is when she said Kale started to be nice. Then when Eric found out, he kept trying to force her to take Kale back and even threatened her if she didn't, Kendrick replied. When did that happen? I asked. Right after Emma made Sarin sprain her wrist, I pinched the bridge of my nose and took a deep breath. I can tell you this, the Luna can definitely hold her own. Even after all the she has been through, she's one tough wolf. Well, if she's anything like Meg was, then Sarin won't have a filter on that mouth, my mother says. Kendrick and I look at each other and start laughing. Mother, you're SP0T on. I cannot believe the nerve of Eric. Taking in a child only to turn them into a slave. Don't they have an elder in their pack? My father shouted. They do, and from Kendrick and I witnessed in the meeting this morning, he knew of what Eric was doing and turned a blind eye. Their pack doctor even said that he was prohibited from ever treating Sarin's wounds or injuries, I answer. What? Are you saying they made a pup heal from injuries with no medical treatment? Jason asked infuriated. That's exactly what I'm saying. It appeared that the only person in the entire pack that actually cared about her well-being was the doctor. But because of Eric, he had to stand by and watch. I need to speak with the elders, this is absolutely outrageous, my father growled. Don't worry Uncle Ronan, Alpha Richard said that he would be doing that already. Jasper revealed to all the alphas in attendance what happened to Sarin and who she is, a lot of them have withdrawn their pact with Blood Moon. I'm not surprised that happened. Mitch was loved by many packs, and they were all allies with him before everything occurred. Unfortunately, the challenge by Eric came out of nowhere, and no one expected that he would KLL the pack after winning, my father said. Jasper, Does Sarin remember you? My mother asked. I don't think she does, I only saw her that one time when she was 10. All the other times she was even younger, so I don't think she remembers me at all. So, hold up a minute, this Sarin, your mate, our Luna, is the same 10-year-old you were bragging about when you were 18? The one you said that you had wait for but didn't care, and would go find as soon as she turned 18? Jason asked. One in the same. No wonder you never found a mate, yours was still alive, he said. I nodded. What's more ironic is that you did find her when she turned 18. What I don't understand is why the moon goddess even paired Sarin with Eric's son in the first place, my mother said. Grace, it could be because she knew Kale would reject her, and then come to realize his mistake. Now, Kale must live with the fact that Sarin belongs to Jasper, my father said, grabbing my mother's hand. Aunt Grace, I think it's a form of karma, Jason said. I mean, Jasper and Kendrick said themselves, the Luna was basically T0 Richard for 8 years because they didn't know who she was, and it's good that they didn't because then they would have possibly KLLED her instead. Whatever the case, they turned into a slave, and now their pack has to deal with the fact they missed out on one of the most powerful she-wolves out there. What do you mean most powerful? Kendrick asked. Oh yeah, you don't know, Jason said to him. Kendrick, Sarin isn't just an alpha because of Gideon's bloodline, but also Megan's, my dad answered. Wait, what? Aunt Meg was also an alpha. Megan was the first female alpha on her side of the family in many generations. Her family only had boys, and they all had their own packs eventually, or became high-ranking betas, my mother explained. Megan and I came from the same pack, and she was technically my superior because of her alpha blood, but she never made it seem that way. Then after I met Ronan, and moved away, we invited her to my Luna ceremony where Mitch was also in attendance. Oh, so Aunt Meg met Uncle Mitch at your Luna ceremony? Exactly, and she didn't know he was an alpha because he hadn't taken his TLE yet. Mitch's father wasn't going to give him the TLE until he had a mate, and luckily, he found her at 20, and Megan had just turned 19, my father said. They took a while to have a pup, but it was all in due time because 7 years later, Megan was pregnant with Sarin, my mother concluded. Sarin may not know it yet, but she is a very powerful alpha wolf, and that's probably why Eric and Kale are kicking themselves, Jason responded. Son, it may even be possible that Sarin is more powerful than you, just by DNA, my father said to me in the most serious tone. Having a mate more powerful than me? Yes, please. So, when are we going to plan her Luna ceremony? My mother asked a little excitedly. When she actually accepts me as her mate, I say with caution. Excuse me. Sarin hasn't exactly accepted me as her mate yet, I bite my cheek. Why not? My father asks. Well, given all the SHT she's been through, and having been rejected on her birthday by her first mate, I'm sure she has trust issues, I tell him. Both of the faces fill with empathy and understanding. I'm trying to give her time to accept me, I don't want to push it. I am able to give her some affection without her freaking out, but I have to take this slow. With everything Sarin has been through in the last 8 years, I don't want to give her any reasons to not trust me, or this pack. We understand, sweetheart. I wish there were some way we can remind Sarin of we are to her. I mean, 10 is an age where she would remember a lot of things, my father said. Why not just tell her? Jason said. I mean, it's going to be a age blow, yeah, but I don't think keeping it a secret is a good idea either. At this point, Aunt Grace, your closest relative to Sarin's mom, and Uncle Ronan, your closest relative to her dad. Honey, the photo, my mother said. What photo? He asked. The one you took while you and Jasper went to go visit, the one time that I didn't go. It was the last time you two saw them before the attack. Darling, you're a genius, he said and kissed her forehead. My dad ran out of the office. We waited a few minutes, and then my dad came back clutching a photo in his hand. This photo should help her remember, he said and handed it to me. It was a photo of Uncle Mitch, Aunt Meg, Dad, Sarin, and me. Only the crazy thing was, I'm carrying Sarin in my arms and she's kissing my cheek. I remember taking this photo. Flashback. Mommy, I want Prince Charming to hold me though. Sarin whined. Sarin, baby, don't bother Jasper like that, and now come to Mommy. No. Aunt Meg, I don't mind, really, I tell her. I scoop up Sarin and smile at her. Uncle Ronan, can I keep him? I remember Sarin couldn't say Ronan correctly. Well, I don't know Sarin, Aunt Grace would like to get him back. Sarin pouts and is on the verge of tears. Sarin, I'll make you a deal, I tell her. When you're big and strong, I will come back, and you can keep me then. How does that sound? Really? She smiled big and cups her hands together. Really? Promise. Promise. All right, smile everyone. Uncle Mitch shouted as he set the camera on a self-timer and ran over. Remember, Sarin, when you're big and strong, you get to keep me. Forever. Forever, she kissed my cheek making me smile just as the flash went off. End flashback. I need to show this picture to Sarin as soon as possible. I prayed that she would be able to remember, and it would be able to speed things up a bit. Not only that, but her remember how much fun she had before everything went to SHT. Chapter 9. Sarin's POV. I was getting so tired from the tour of the castle and we barely got through the first floor. I would honestly need a guide for the first year while living here because I would get so turned around if I tried to go anywhere by myself. And this is the most heavenly place in the entire castle, Milan said while spreading her arms wide with a huge grin. Where the most amazing things are created, and where you can have whatever your heart desires. We went through a doorway, and it was the kitchen. I gasped as the size of it. It was easily 3 times bigger than the one at Blood Moon. There were at least 6 refrigerators, 4 stovetops, 6 ovens, 5 microwaves, 2 large sinks, a hand-washing station, and cabinets galore. This kitchen is beyond heavenly, I say while holding my hands to my face. These are the pantries, did she pantries, as in plural? She pointed at 3 doors. I opened the first one and I had to physically step in to see the first pantry. That one is full of snacks, so help yourself anytime. The other 2 are where we keep groceries, boxed meals, and dry goods. If there is anything you want that we don't have, which is highly unlikely, just let Mr. and Mrs. Williams know, and they will get it for you. Who is Mr. and Mrs. Williams? We are, 2 voices said coming into the kitchen behind us. Gamma, who is this lovely young lady? Mr. Williams asked. This is Sarin, she's our future Luna, they both gasped and immediately bowed their heads. Oh no, please, don't do that, I'm not actually the Luna, yet. Please, just call me Sarin and greet me like you would anyone else. If that's what you insist, Sarin, Mrs. Williams replied with a warm smile. Loon or not, we welcome you, Sarin, Mr. Williams said and shook my hand firmly and also gave me a warm smile. Sarin, are you hungry at all? Mrs. Williams asked. Yes, but I can make something myself. Please just tell me where everything is. Nonsense, child, this is our kitchen, and we will not have the future Luna getting her hands dirty, at least not on her first day, Mrs. Williams said. Let's not ruin her appetite, dear, Mr. Williams interjected. Sarin, we will be making lunch shortly, and we do not want to ruin your appetite. So, how about some fresh fruit and yogurt to keep you sustained until then? That sounds wonderful, thank you. Gamma. Sure, count me in. Milan exclaimed. We sat on the island together and ate our fruit and yogurt. I hadn't had fruit in so long, I didn't realize how fast I had eaten until I was down to my last strawberry. Wow, you ate that really fast. Yeah, I guess I was hungrier than I thought. Milan was about to say something else when her eyes glazed over. The alpha is coming, she said. So, how old are you, Sarin? I just turned 18, 5 days ago, she looked at me in shock. Wow, you are young. I am. Well, compared to all of us you are, I just gave her a weird look. How old are you? I asked. I'm 25, and so is Jason, my eyes widened in shock. Kendrick is 24, and Jasper is 26. What? Jasper is 8 years older than me. Yeah, that's a big age gap if you ask me, I'm surprised that you're his mate. Gamma, finding one's mate has nothing to do with their age, and you know that, Mr. Williams said from the kitchen counter. I looked to see what he was doing, and he looked like he was slicing deli meat. I know, but still, it's rare to see a ranked pair so far apart in age, Milan said. I kind of slumped in my seat, unsure of how to respond to that. I like that she's younger than me, I heard a soothing voice say. I looked up and saw Jasper enter the kitchen. He smiled and walked right over to me. How was the tour, baby? It was long, I replied. I need a map of the castle, I'm going to get lost, Jasper chuckled at my statement. You get used to it, besides, you won't be alone. Milan here will escort you anywhere you want to go until you are able to get around yourself. That's right, it's going to be you and I tied to the HP, she says with a big smile. Is there anywhere in the castle that I'm not allowed to go? I asked. Milan looks at me funny and then back at Jasper. Baby, I don't run my pack the way Eric does. You're free to go wherever you please, I smiled at his response. With that being said, you are not allowed to go outside of the castle without Milan, Jason, Kendrick, or myself, is that understood? Yes, I honestly don't think I'm ready to go outside just yet. The territory is massive. When you are, I will gladly take you on a tour of the territory. We can even go out onto the lake with my boat, I smiled and nodded. Anyway, if you're done with your snack, I'd like you to come my office. Sure, I grab the plate and place it in the sink. I turn on the water to clean it, but Mrs. Williams stops me. Go on, Sarin, I got it from here. Okay, thank you, Jasper takes my hand and interlocks our fingers. I can't help but blush from how nice it felt, but I was a little uncomfortable at the same time. Jasper has been showing a lot of affection, and I don't know how to respond to it. I was surprised when we almost kissed in the guest room at Blood Moon. I honestly couldn't believe that I had dropped my guard that easily with him. Stupid mate bond. Oh please, you wanted him to kiss you. Shut it, Kale. Stop denying it, Sarin. You like him. Hell, you borderline love him. I do not. Do to. Do not. Do to. Who are you trying to lie to? Me? Yourself? Either way, it doesn't matter. We share the same mind and body, remember. I feel what you feel, and you want him. I snub her away and bite my cheek. I hated sharing my mind and my feelings with another soul. Who came up with this crap for werewolves anyway? Jasper led me to his office on the 5th floor, and I was completely breathless, and my legs were burning. I'm sorry, love, we should have taken the elevator. There's an elevator. I gawked at him. You could have said that sooner. I shouted and slumped in the nearest chair I could find, catching my breath. Well, you seem to do okay at Blood Moon. Jasper, 1 floor here at 2 floors there. I essentially just walked up, what is that, 2, 4, 6, 10 flights of stairs. He sat there and laughed at me. I took a few minutes to catch my breath and finally was able to think again. What did you want to talk to me about? I need to come clean about something. Oh God, he doesn't love me. He's going to reject me. I knew it, this was all too good to be true. I was going to be rejected again, only this time, this was going to hurt even more because I actually care about Jasper. I couldn't help the tears forming in my eyes. Sarin, why are you crying? You're going to reject me, aren't you? What? No. Baby, I'm not going to reject you. Why would you think that? He jumped out of his seat and pulled me out of mine, engulfing me in ah.ug. Dearest, don't ever think that I will never reject you, he said as he cradled my head. But, you said you needed to come clean about something. I thought you were going to tell me that you didn't actually love me. No, goddess no, Sarin, please don't ever think that again. I told you, he pulled away and cupped my cheeks, I would die from heartbreak if I lost you. I pouted and avoided looking him in the eyes. Get that SHT out of your head, you're not going anywhere, and you're not getting rid of me that easily, he said and pulled me into another h.ug. We stood there a minute before I slowly wrapped my arms around his waist. If you're not rejecting me, then what did you need to tell me? That you and I have met before, I pulled away from and looked at him, furrowing my brows. We met when you were only 10, right before Eric K. LLED your pack. What are you talking about? Do you remember this? He asks and hands me a photo off of his desk. I look at it, and I see my parents, Jasper's dad, a younger version of Jasper, and me, in Jasper's arms, kissing his cheek. I looked up at Jasper and then back at the picture. I know that's me, and my family, and you and your dad, but I don't remember taking this photo. Sarin, do you remember telling a boy that you wanted to keep him? I looked at Jasper like he was crazy. I thought really hard. Can I keep you? When you're big and strong, I'll come back and you can keep me then. Forever. Forever. I looked at Jasper and studied his face. I looked back at the photo and thought back. Prince Charming, I whisper. What did you say? Jasper asked with an excited. Prince Charming, I say again while looking straight at him. Oh my God, you're Prince Charming. Yeah, you called me that the entire weekend we were visiting you. Ronan, Uncle Roning, tears were flooding my eyes and fell on the own accord. Oh my God, we have met before, that's why I felt so drawn to you. Sarin, back then, I was already 18, and had gained my wolf, he said and took my hands in his. The sparks and tingling sensation he was giving me was sending chills all across my body. Baby, I already knew you were my mate, even then. What? You did too, but you were just too young to know. My father says it's because we're both alphas. That your dormant wolf was already responding to my active one, and vice versa. That's why I wanted to keep you. Yeah, and that's why I said once you're big and strong, you would get to keep me, forever. Jasper was my mate. He's my true mate. How did I not remember him until right now? I don't understand. If you're my true mate, why was I mated to Ash? We think it was the moon goddess' way of punishing him and his pack, karma if you will. Tears kept streaming down my face the more I looked at Jasper. I loved him even when I was a child. Sarin, when your pack was attacked, it was reported that there no survivors, and I swear, I felt like a part of me was gone. I looked at him, and saw that he also tears in eyes. Jasper. I thought that I had lost you, my tiny mate, before I even had the chance to really love you. All this time, I always wondered why I was never given a second chance, but then when you told me your name at the pack clinic at Blood Moon, I realized that I wasn't given a second chance, because my true mate, my first love was still alive. I know that sounds a little creepy, my having been in love with a 10-year-old when I was 18, but I was going to wait patiently for you to grow up, but then I thought you had died, and I felt so empty. I don't know how this all happened, but somehow, someway, the moon goddess led him back to me. Jasper actually did love me. He loved me when I was an annoying little 10-year-old, he mourned me because he thought I died with my pack, and now he's here in front of me. My Prince Charming, the one I wanted to keep. The one I do want to keep. Jasper, he looked at me with nothing but love in his eyes. I'm big and strong now, he smiled. You promised if I got big and strong, I could keep you. I caressed his cheek with the back of my hand and looked into his beautiful teal eyes. How could I have ever forgotten those beautiful teal eyes? So, can I keep you? Yes, you can keep me, I smiled and wrapped my arms around his waist as tight as I could. He cradled my head again. Sarin, I love you. I love you too, Prince Charming. Jasper immediately started to laugh, and I couldn't help but laugh with him. I think your dad would be happy to know I can finally say his name correctly. I think he would still prefer you to call him Uncle Roning. I couldn't help but laugh. After we just spent some time holding each other, Jasper took me to his parents' study. They were so excited to hear that I remember them, and Grace even cried and told me she's actually my godmother, which in turn made me cry all over again. Jasper was right when he said that his dad wanted me to call him Uncle Roning, which I was more than happy to. These people were like my second parents, and I had forgotten they even existed. I don't know how I did, or why I did, but I was just so happy to have them in my life again. After all the crying, laughing, and more crying, we all went down to the dining room for lunch. The entire time we were eating, Jasper kept his hand on my back. I wasn't sure if it was because he thought I needed to feel the comfort, or if he needed it. Either way, I didn't mind it. So, Sarin, sweetheart, have thou two of when you wanted to do your Luna ceremony? Grace asked. My what? I looked up at her in confusion. Your Luna ceremony, she repeated. I didn't reply to her. I never said anything about being the Pax Luna. Mom, I told you that I didn't want to rush Sarin. Why are you bringing this up not even 2 hours after I told you? Jasper asked with an annoying tone. Oh, I just assumed. I'm sorry, Aunt Grace, but I haven't put much thought into the whole Luna situation. All of this is still a bit much for me, I tell her softly, trying not to sound rude. If this were Nicole or Eric, I'd be telling me them to off or go to hell, but she wasn't an evil bee, tch, she was my godmother, and a loving one at that. It's quite all right, Sarin, don't mind Grace, Uncle Ronan replied. I'm sorry, I would just like to take my time if that's all right. I just discovered Jasper and I were destined mates, and I've just come to accept him as such, so I want to be able to really let that sink in, before any other major changes in my life. You're right, I am so sorry sweetie, you take all the time you need, she responded. I smiled at the response. It was sincere and wholehearted. On another note, when do you and Jasper plan on making BA? Mom. Jasper boomed. I jumped out of my seat from his sudden outburst. Son, don't shout like that so suddenly, you startled Sarin, Ronan said to him sternly. I'm sorry, love, I didn't mean to scare you, he said while rubbing my back to calm my nerves. Even though my heart was beating a million miles a minute, his gentle rubbing made me feel better almost instantly. I'm okay now, I say and put my hand on his humongous GH, making him slightly stiffen. Mom, can we not talk about such private matters in mixed company? He gritted his teeth. I took a sip of water to help settle my stomach from my nerves. My goodness, so sensitive, you make it seem like poor Sarin doesn't know what is. I choked on my water and started to cough hysterically. T, Jasper said and started to tap my back for me while I hit my C.Hes to make the water stuck in my larynx go down. Mom, seriously? Well, how was I supposed to know she would react that way? Darling, you're just as bad as Megan. I am not. Megan was 10 times worse. Ronan and Grace kept bickering while I was trying not to die at the table. After a few more seconds of me hitting my C.Hest, and Jasper tapping my back, I was finally able to breathe again. I cannot believe Grace brought up sex at the table the way she did. I'm okay, I'll live, I tell Jasper. Let's hurry up and finish eating before they bring up ideas about a wedding next. I looked up at him, my eyes popping out of their sockets. I didn't want to deal with any more loon ceremony, and I were pretty sure Grace was bringing up babies before Jasper cut her off. It was all too much for my first day. I just wanted to relax. Sarin, we're going to have a welcome dinner for you tonight, and introduce you to the pack, Ronan said. I looked up at him and furrowed my brows. Don't worry, it's not a ceremony, it's simply an introduction of being Jasper's mate, and the future Luna of the pack. Oh, okay, I said, unsure about it. Milan, darling, will you be a doll and help Sarin get ready for the introduction later? She will need to be spruced up a bit, Grace said. Of course, Auntie Grace, I would love to. What am I supposed to wear to this introduction? I asked hesitantly. A simple dress will suffice, Grace replied. I immediately pouted and slumped in my seat. I'm going to assume you don't have a dress to wear, Milan said. I shook my head. I would let you borrow something from me, but you're a lot shorter than I am, so I don't think that would work. Melody's clothes won't work either since you're a lot thinner than her. Milan, here's my credit card, take Sarin shopping, Jasper said. Yes. Milan cheesed and snatched it from him. Sarin, love, stay with Milan and the guard that I will be sending with you too, okay? Do not wander off. I won't. Welp, I'm done eating then. Sarin, are you ready? I nodded and we both got up from the table. I was about to walk away when I paused. I turned around and quickly gave Jasper a kiss on the cheek. Bye, Prince Charming. Sarin, ugh, he scowled at me and I scurried off to catch up to Milan before I got lost and I could hear the entire table laughing at Jasper. Milan took me to the front of the palace, where a car was already waiting for us. A man came around from the driver's side and opened the back door for Milan and me. Gamma Milan, and Luna Sarin, it is a pleasure to be escorting you two today. Ah, Angelo, why am I not surprised? Their interaction seemed hostile. Do you two know each other? Sarin, this is Angelo, one of the top guards and one of 4 head trainers in the pack, he's also my twin brother. It's nice to meet you Angelo, and please, just call me Sarin. I'm not allowed to use just names Luna, I'm sorry, but as a guard, I must maintain professionalism and respect. Oh. It's okay Sarin, you will get used to the formalities. Mr. and Mrs. Williams can easily let them go because they're upper level and because well, they're a lot older, but Angelo and about 80% of the other pack members will have to refer to you as Luna or Miss. I grunted at her response, but there was nothing I could do about it. Now come on, let's go do some damage to Jasper's credit card. She seemed a little too excited about this. Chapter 10. Sarin's POV. Milan, this is too much. I thought we were only going to get a dress. I looked at Angelo, and he was carrying over 10 bags worth of clothes, shoes, makeup, and other miscellaneous items she had bought for me. Anything I tried on and liked, or she thought looked good on me, she bought and used Jasper's credit card. I felt horrible. What if we use all of his money? Milan stopped in her tracks and turned to face me. Use all of his money? Sarin, this is Jasper we're talking about. I know that's why. Gamma, I get the feeling she doesn't know, Angelo said behind me. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Did I miss something? How can I put this where it won't make you faint? Milan said and twitched her nose a few times. Sarin, Jasper is rich. What? Yeah, Jasper won't know how much we spent because he doesn't ever check his bank account. I just stared at her even more confused. Let me put it this way, unless we spend $1 million today, Jasper won't know the difference. Look what you did Gamma, you broke the Luna. Oh, she's fine, she's just shell-shocked. Now come on, we have a couple more stores we need to go to. But don't you think I have enough? I asked her as she kept dragging me along. Sarin, what did you bring with you from Blood Moon? She asked, stopping dead in her tracks again. Some clothes, toothbrush, and a brush. Exactly, you don't have SHT, she said in the most obnoxious tone ever, making me scowl at her. I'm not saying that to be mean, but you need clothes to wear for the rest of the time that you're here, which I'm hoping is the rest for your life or for another 100 years, don't you? You can't just walk around in baggy t-shirts tied at the hem and faded leggings for the rest of your life. You're not a slave anymore, Sarin, you're the future Luna of the largest and most powerful pack in the central United States, she said with a warm smile while putting her hands on my shoulders. I'm not buying you all this just because I want to break Jasper's bank, because let's face it, that's almost impossible to do, but we need to start filling your closet with clothes fit for a Luna. But I like shirts and leggings. Okay, then we can get more stylish shirts and leggings, fit for a Luna. I pressed my LPS together and nodded. Good, now come on, she said, pulling me and Angelo following behind. We walk across the building, which I assumed was called a mall, and ended up a store that was fully in the color pink. What is this place? I asked. This is underwear heaven, welcome to Victoria's Secret. She pulled me inside and grabbed a black bag. Now, what size underwear do you wear? Small I think. Okay, good, Milan went over to the table in the middle of the store and started to pick out all different kinds of underwear. I didn't even know underwear came in these kinds of styles. What is that? I pointed to the thing Milan was holding in her hand, looking at the pattern. This is called a thong. Why does it look like that? Oh, you poor thing, you have so much to learn, she smiled. This is the front, and this is the back. It lets you show completely. Why would anyone want to wear that? I ask. Because its men love it, she said and threw it into the bag. I should get some more for myself while we're here. She grabbed a second bag for herself. Now, we need to get you some new lingerie to sleep in. She walked over to another part of the store, and I followed her. Sarin, babe, what size are you? I don't know. What size are you wearing right now? I don't know, I just wear whatever pack house members were throwing out. I just picked one that fit. What? Milan said, turning around to face me. Oh my god, that's so unsanitary. Stay here. I nodded and she walked away. A few minutes later she came back with a lady in all black. Hi, my name is Angela, I was told you need help figuring what size you need. I nodded my head. Okay, let's get you sized then, took out a long rope-looking thing with numbers on it, and started to wrap it around my chest a few times in different areas. Okay, so it looks like you are a 32D. Milan said. I never would have guessed with shirt you're wearing. What kind do you like to wear? How about we do a couple of each in different styles? Milan jumped in to save me. I let out a sigh of relief. Who knew shopping could be this stressful? Once we had a bunch picked out, I went into the dressing room with Milan, and she helped me try them on. Thankfully, a lot of the bruising had faded but were still very much visible. Milan cringed, and I knew she wanted to ask, but she didn't. After figuring out which was comfortable in, we kept those and gave the others back. After that, we moved on to sports, shorts, shirts, sweatpants, lotion, and perfume. Milan showed me which ones were her favorite, and I liked them as well. I watched as the lady scanned everything we were buying and she kind of looked at us like we were crazy. I didn't blame her. Milan filled up 3 bags for me alone, and 1 for herself. Okay, the total for you is $679.32. Milan pulled out a card from her purse and paid for her things. The amount alone for her made my mouth drop. I could only imagine how much mine was going to cost. The total for this is $2,049.03, I scoffed at the total. Milan handed over Jasper's credit card as if it were nothing. I couldn't even begin to do the math on how much we spent today. I only hoped Jasper didn't get too upset at us. Thank you, Milan said happily and took our bags. We walked out of the store and met up with Angelo. He had refused to come inside. Can we go now? I think we've spent enough of Jasper's money, I say shyly. But I thought you wanted more leggings and shirts. I do, but... Okay then, let's go. I hung my head and just followed after her. Angelo didn't seem to have any issues holding all of the bags. I mean, he technically is a werewolf with abnormal strength, but we were in a place surrounded by humans. I was afraid of what people might think, but Milan didn't care and neither did Angelo. Angelo, are you okay? I asked him. Perfectly fine, Luna, don't worry about me, and enjoy yourself, she said with a sincere smile. I smiled back and kept following after Milan. After another hour at the mall, I was totally wiped, and it was time to head home to get ready for the dinner party. On the drive back, Milan had Angelo stop by a coffee shop called Starbucks. Since I didn't drink coffee, Milan ordered me a fruity tea type drink that I really enjoyed. Angelo ended up paying for our drinks, which I was really thankful for. During the drive, I decided to make small talk with Angelo. So, Angelo, do you have a mate? Not yet. I think it's Melody, Milan answered. Why would think that? Angelo asked. Well, she's been away since before she was 18, and you're both still unmated, so it's a process of elimination. That is unless of course, you're gay. I'm not gay, Milan, he shouted, and I just snickered. Who's Melody? You've mentioned her twice now, I asked. Oh, Melody is Jasper's younger sister. She's been away at college a few cities away since right before she turned 18, Milan answered. Oh. Mel actually just graduated and should be coming back in about a week or two. Does she know about me? I asked. She probably does now. I'm sure Auntie Grace told her. The drive back didn't last much longer when I saw we had already gone through the gates. I don't think I would ever get tired of the pack territory. It was just so serene and relaxing. The scenery that unfolds during the drive from the gate to the castle was so just magical and unreal. It was like I was literally living in some kind of fairy tale. I only hoped that I would get my happily ever after. After we arrived back at the castle, Angelo got out of the car and opened the door for us. Once we unloaded everything, Milan and I went back inside while Angelo took the car back to the garage, or at least that's what Milan said he went. When we got back inside, we were greeted by a few pack house members, but as we were heading towards the elevator, I had an eerie feeling that I was being watched. I turned around but saw no one. Are you okay? Milan asked. Yeah, I thought someone was watching me. Oh, this place can play tricks on you. It's just so big that the empty space feels like there is a presence there. You get used to it. I guess there is a lot I have to get used to. We go up to the third floor where Milan and Jason lived and dropped off her things before, going up to the fifth floor. So, which room is my room? I ask while we're carrying my 13 shopping bags. This one, she said and opened it. When I looked inside, I immediately knew that this was Jasper's room. It was humongous. The room alone made Ash's alpha room look small, and his room took me at least 3 hours to clean. This one would take at least double, maybe triple that amount of mine. The entire color scheme of the room was black and blue like the lake. There was a giant bed that looked like it could fit 20 people comfortably. At the foot of the bed was a couch, and right in front of a huge fireplace. The wall decorations were very historic and modern at the same time. Through the bedroom was a sitting room that had an L-shaped couch, and the opposite of that is a round table with armchairs facing the window. The balcony I saw had a direct view of the lake and mountains around the territory. The view was breathtakingly beautiful. So, how do you like your room? My room? This isn't Jasper's room. Well, I mean it is, but it's your room now too. I just an O shape with my mouth. So, I just got word that dinner is going to be delayed for about 2 hours because it was sprung up so last minute. I'm going to let you get settled in, and we'll come back about an hour before dinner so I can help you get ready. Sound good? Yes, she dropped all my bags on the bed and walked out. I looked at the bags in front of me and had no idea what to do at that point. I didn't even know where the closet was, or the bathroom. Do I even want to know how much money you two spent? I heard Jasper's voice. I turned around and saw him standing in the doorway. I smiled seeing him, and he came over and hugged me. No, I don't think you do, I replied. He brushed my hair out of my face and looked at me. Did you have fun? I think so. I'd never been shopping before, at least not like that, so it was a different experience. Do you want to show me what you bought? I nodded my head and we went through my shopping bags. The only ones I didn't allow him to see were the shopping I bought because that was too embarrassing. He protested obviously, but I just had to pout once before he gave up. Once we threw everything I had bought, he helped me put everything away in a massive closet that might as well have been another bedroom. Jasper, this closet is ridiculous. Yeah, it is, but we have forever to fill it up. When he said the word forever, I instantly just smiled. Sarin, before you put your new undergarments away, make sure you take off the tags and send them down to be washed first. Where do I send it exactly? See that small door right there in the corner? I turned around, saw a small handle in the wall. That's the laundry chute. Our floor has its own chute, so the laundry omegas know where to bring it when it's done. Why can't I just take it down myself? And I stopped talking when Jasper gave me a stern look. Dearest, I know you're used to having to do things by yourself because that's how you grew up, but you're not by yourself anymore. You're with me now, and this is your home. You don't have to do anything by yourself, we have a working staff to do all of that. Later, after you've completely settled and you can help, but I want you to get used to living here first. Okay, I'm sorry. And stop apologizing for everything. You're not doing anything wrong, you're doing everything you're used to, and there is nothing wrong with that, he said and lifted my chin to look at him. What? You're just so pretty. I immediately blushed and tried to look away, but Jasper cupped my face. His eyes were studying me, and probably trying to decipher if I was going to try and run or not. Sarin. Yes. He didn't say anything, he just kept staring, but his face was getting closer. Oh God, this was just like back at Blood Moon, but only this time, I knew that there was nowhere to run, and no one to knock on the door. We were in the closet, of all places. I closed my eyes and just waited. I could feel his warm breath, and his L.P.S. were slight over mine already. Then I felt his L.P.S. pressed against mine fully. Jasper K.S.S.C.D. me. My first K.S.S. I didn't know what to do with my hands, I had never K.S.S.C.D. anyone before. But I had seen pack members sing all the time at Blood Moon, and I always saw the females wrap their arms around their mates' necks, so that's what I did. I reached up and wrapped my arms around Jasper's neck. He immediately let go of my cheeks, and for a split second I thought he was going to pull away, but instead, he wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me closer. I felt him open his mouth a little, so I followed his movement. My bottom L.P. was in his mouth and his top L.P. was in mine. I guess I was doing something right, because Jasper M0ANED, and it was very sounding. I don't know, but that sound alone made my insides heat up like no other, and the next thing I knew, I was M0ANING. I shocked myself so much that I tried to pull away, but Jasper deepened the K.S.S. He opened his mouth again, and so did I, and then I felt this tongue inside of my mouth. His tongue was wrestling with my tongue, and I had to admit, although this was more than I expected, I was really enjoying it. I am 0ANED again without realization, and then I felt Jasper grabbed one of my cheeks and squeezed it. It hurt, but I liked it at the same time. I also had to admit, I loved how Jasper tasted. He tasted sweet, savory, and all the good things in between. I never knew sing was this magical. Jasper, I say softly and pull back. I was starting to suffocate. What? Did I do something wrong? Not all baby, I'm turned on right now. I didn't understand what he meant until he pulled away completely and I could see the outline of something inside of his pants. What is that? I said, pointing to it. That's my turn on. I looked at him confused. You're so innocent, he came back and kssed me again. I can't wait to make love to you. Make love? Sarin. Oh, I pulled back a little and pressed my hands against his hard c.hest. Don't worry, we won't have sex until you are ready. I won't force you, I bit my lip and nodded. I couldn't help but picture Jasper and ached, taking my virtue, and making me his completely. The thought alone made my insides burn up again, and then I felt a sudden weedotness between my legs, coming out of my private area. What was wrong with me? Just then, Jasper's eyes turned black, and his breathing became erratic. He grabbed both of my cheeks and pulled me to him with force, and he put his face into my neck, and I heard him inhale deeply. I could feel his turn on rubbing against my stomach, and for reason that I don't know, I felt more moisture come out of my private area. What was going on? Sarin, dearest, you need to stop. Stop what? Stop being so aroused, Blade is going crazy, and he wants to mate right now. I didn't even know I was doing anything, I tell him honestly. When you talked about sex, I just started to think about that right there. Stop thinking about baby, that's why you're aroused, and Blade can sense it, it's driving him mad, Jasper said, never once lifting his head. I did my best and finally stopped thinking about it and just ugged Jasper. After a minute or two, I wasn't hot inside anymore, and Jasper let out a deep breath. I never had to try so hard to keep Blade from coming to the surface. I don't know what happened to me, but I felt all hot and tingly, and then I felt it something between my legs. That's how a woman is turned on, Sarin. When a man's gets hard, it means he is. Oh. You're going to be the death of me, Sarin. In a good or bad way? Good, very, very good, he said, and kssed me again. I need to take a cold shower. When Jasper walked out of the closet, I found a pair of scissors, and took off all of the tags from the new shopping that I bought, or rather, he bought and threw into one of the laundry bags I saw by the chute. I tied it up and threw it down the chute. I came back out into the room and walked around looking at it in more detail. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.